Hello everyone, and welcome to the second video of my series Learning EssentialCraft 3. If you saw my first video, we set up some of the basics of the mod, and we have a thing that generates power, and now we need a way to store that power. So that's what this entire video is going to be about, the battery. Now, this structure is huge. This is it right here. It's extremely complex for being just a battery, but that's really all the thing is. And in the game, it's called the MRUCUEC. That's another example of the amount of acronyms in this mod. There's going to be a lot of acronyms in this particular video, and I'll go over them when we get to them. So this thing is made up of, it's really a combination of three different acronyms. So you've got MRU, if you remember from the first video, is Magical Energy. It stands for Magical Radiation Unit. Then you have the MRUCU, which is the Magic Radiation Unit Concentration Unit, which is something I'll get to in a minute. It's actually the last component of the battery. And then EC stands for Enrichment Chamber. So the full name of this thing is Magical Radiation Unit Concentration Unit Enrichment Chamber. I'm just going to call it a battery for obvious reasons. So this structure can be any size. It has a minimum size of a 5x5x5, which is what this is. But it can be anything bigger than that. You can make these things gigantic. There's really only one reason to make them gigantic, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But this video is really just going to be the very basic version of this thing. There's a lot of different things that you can do with this battery and different ways to build it, and we'll go over that probably in a future video. But this will be the absolute basic version of the battery that you'll be able to start with, basically, and then we can go from there. So you can see it's a 5x5x5 structure with this magic plating as a frame, and there's several objects in there which we'll go over in detail. So to build the battery, you need to start with magic plating, and that, as I said, is the frame, and it's this block, this pink block here, and that's made from 4 of these magical plates, and that makes 16 plating blocks, which is pretty nice. So you get quite a few of these blocks, and you're going to need them. And those magical platings are made by magic. It's in the magician table, which we talked about in video 1, and that's made with a magic full fortified plate and 4 magical ingots, and I'll get you 1 magic plate. And you might recall that that thing in the middle, the magic fortified plate, is made from a fortified stone in here. And then we also have these magical ingots. That's also made just with an iron ingot in the magician table. So this whole thing is made in the magician table from 3 different recipes. So that'll get you the magic plating block, and you'll need quite a few of those to build the full structure. The next thing that's required for the battery, or the enrichment chamber as it's called in the game, is the controller, which is this block here. And the controller is made with this recipe, which has 3 linking devices, an elemental core, a conversion matrix, a world interacting device, 2 magic fortified frames, and a magical plate. And by the way, if I don't go over any of these recipes, I'll go over any of the new ones, which I haven't went over in previous videos. So you can either watch my previous videos to see those recipes, or consult the research book. Everything is going to be in here if you need it. So like here's the full chapter about the enrichment chamber, which is the battery. And that's another reason why I want to make these videos, is because this name, MRUCU, Enrichment Chamber, not at all clear what the hell this structure is. So I'm trying to clarify things a bit. But you can see it's got recipes in here for the plating blocks, and this is the controller and whatnot, and some pictures, and it talks about upgrades as well. And I'll go over that in a later video, as I said. So we have the controller. To make the conversion matrix, you need 2 magical ingots and a core, and we just saw how to make the ingots, and the core was in a previous video. The world interacting device is made by 8 ingots and an eye of absorption, and this eye of absorption is made like this: 4 gems, 4 irons, and an ender pearl. So this is a fairly complex structure here, and it gives you this block, which has some things you can see up top there. There's MRU. It tells you the base battery, if you don't add any of the optional components, is 60,000 MRUs what it stores. And it also talks about balance of the battery, which I'll go over in a later video, I think. So anyways, that's the chamber controller. That's the thing that sort of turns the battery on and tells you about the status. Now you need a way to put energy in the battery, and that's what this MRU acceptor is. It's the power input. So the MRU acceptor. This thing has a GUI which requires a bound gem. So what you'll do is you'll take a bound gem, bind it to a power source, like the matrix destructor we did in the previous video, and then insert that bound gem into here, and then whatever power you generate from the power generator will go into the battery and be stored there. And the way you make this thing is with this recipe: 2 magical plates, a conversion matrix, a core, a linking device, collecting device, and 2 frames. And the only new one we have here is, this thing, a magical display. A magical display is made with magic water and 4 frames. And the magic water is made in the magician table with just a water bottle. So that's how you get power into the battery. And now we come around here, and we need a way to get power out of the battery, and that's this, the MRU ejector. So what you would do, this doesn't have a GUI, but what you would do is you take a bound gem that's not bound and you bind it to the ejector, right? And now what you'll do is you'll take your bound gem and stick it in whatever uses the power, and it'll draw power from the battery. So the way you make the ejector block is this. It's very similar to the other one. We got 2 plates, 2 conversion matrices, 2 linking devices, a core, and 2 frames. So there's actually nothing new in here that I need to show you how to build. But those 3 blocks, or plus the magic plating, is the absolute requirements for this battery. Everything else in this video is going to be optional blocks. So you see the rest of these are optional. So the requirements are a controller to turn the battery on, a acceptor to accept power from a generator, and an ejector to deliver power to something that uses it, like a magician table, for example. Now the rest of these, as I said, are optional. This one is considered optional, the holding block, but I think it's pretty much a requirement. What this does is it increases capacity. So as we saw in the controller, it's back there anyways, it said it was 60,000 MRU is the base storage, and it doesn't matter how big the battery is, it's always going to store 60,000 MRU. So with this holding block, for each one of these, you increase the capacity by 100,000. So I think that's about the only reason to make this battery any bigger than a 5x5, is if you want it to store a massive amount of power. You can just cram this thing full of holding blocks and allow it to store a boatload of energy. So the way you make these, and you'll probably need quite a few of them, is 2 magical plates, a linking device, collecting device, as per usual. This time we got a glass alloy, 2 of these dark soul matters, and then 2 frames. So the new stuff here, we've got a glass alloy is this. It's 4 glass, and a fortified plate will give you the glass alloy in the magician table. Those dark soul matters is made with these 4 of these MRU gems and an ender pearl. We'll make 1 dark soul matter. And to make the gems, what you do is you put a quartz in here. Now, let me find the page for it. Here we go. Alright, so you see the quartz will make a shard, MRU shard. Then you put the shard back in and it makes a crystal. Put the crystal back in and it makes a gem. So you need 4 of those, essentially just 4 nether quartzes is all you'll end up needing. And that'll get you a holding block. And like I said, you'll probably want quite a few of these to have your battery store a reasonable amount of energy. Okay, now we're going on to the really optional ones, in my opinion. We have the enrichment chamber state checker. And what this gives you is some statistics of your battery. So it has a little interface like this, just like any other machine. It's got a balance section, it's got an MRU section, and it has some other stuff that appears once you put it in the battery. Being on its own, it doesn't really know what it's looking for, so you don't get much information there. But anyways, you build this one from 2 magic plates, 2 frames, a conversion matrix, a core, a linking device, collecting device, and a magical display, which we've already went over all of those recipes, so you can find those if you really want to build this. So if you go back, see on the back here, these are all 4 of the optional pieces. If you look at the state checker, now that it's part of a battery, We get the balance, as I said, the possible storage, and then this MROV statistic, which I don't believe has any explanation in the book. I don't really know what it is. I think it mentions it, and it just says that more is better. Beyond that, I don't really know what it means. But you can see this particular battery, we've got one holding block, and you remember it has 60,000 to start with. Each holding block adds 100,000. Look at that, 160,000. So add a whole bunch of those holding blocks, and you'll be good to go. Okay, let's go back here. Let's see, we got the enrichment chamber stabilizer. This has to do with corruption. So the thing that we're going to put in this battery, the MRUCU, which we'll talk about in a second, that can generate corruption, which breaks blocks around it, and I think it gives a negative status effect to the player. I never ran into it all that much. It has something to do with the characteristics of the concentration unit thing. But let's talk about that in a second. But anyways, here's how you build it. It's probably recommended to have, because, I mean, getting rid of corruption is generally a good thing. And it's fairly easy to build. 4 magic plates, 2 conversion matrices, a core, collecting device, and, well, I take it back. This combined magical alloy is not terribly easy to build. Combined magical alloy is made from a plate, 2 ender scale alloys, and 2 blaze alloys. An ender scale alloy is 4 pearls in a plate, and a blaze alloy is 4 blaze powders in a plate. So you'll need a lot of pearls and blaze powders to actually make this thing. So, I mean, you can probably not include it in your first battery. I never ran into much corruption, like I said, but I mean, stick it in there if you got the materials. And the last one is this enrichment chamber redstone controller. I honestly have not really done anything with the redstone controller, but it seems like a useful device. It's 4 magic plates, 2 matrices, a core, and 2 of these redstone alloys. And a redstone alloy is similar to the other 2 alloys. You get a plate in the middle, but this time 4 redstones. So that's not terribly expensive. And what this does is it allows the battery to output a redstone signal based on different characteristics of the battery. So you see, if we right-click on this, it says redstone output enabled always. So this will always do a redstone output, or you can... Oh, sorry, I think it's shift-click. There we go. Shift-click changes it. So above, if you want to just right-click, it checks it, and if you shift-click, it changes it. So this time it'll do only above 10% storage. It'll output a signal, not above 20%, 30%, and so on. You can do only if the MRU storage is full. So this is kind of a neat little thing. You know, you can do some sort of redstone controllability based on this. Presumably it's this particular block that outputs the redstone signal. Again, I haven't really tested it, so I don't know for sure, but there it is. Stick it in there if you want to. It's not that expensive. Alright, and that's all the components of the battery. So some combination of all of those things. You remember we required those 3 in the beginning. The controller, the acceptor, and the ejector is the absolute requirement, and plus the plating for the frame. And then all the rest of these were optionals. So you can build, you know, whatever you want. So it's kind of cool that there's creativity there. But there is one more component that this battery requires, and that's that MRUCU thing, at the concentration unit. I'm going to call this thing a node. If you played EssentialCraft, they have nodes out in the world that's like, or this is the source of magic or whatever. That's basically what these things are in EssentialCraft. It's the source of magic. So I call them nodes instead of MRUCU, which apparently I keep having trouble remembering. So we're calling it node. And what you need to do is find one of these nodes in the world and drag it over and put it in your battery for the whole thing to work. Right now the thing is constructed but doesn't have a node in it, so it's not going to do anything. So to move nodes you need these moving wands. And there's 2 of them. There's a tier 1 and a tier 2. Tier 1 is extremely easy to build. It's a gem and a stick. The downside of that is you can't see the nodes. So that's the thing. It's again like EssentialCraft. You can't see the nodes unless you have particular items. So you could use this tier 1 wand, and then there's this thing, the magical monocle, which you can build, made of golden ingots and a glass alloy. And a golden ingot is made from 4 nuggets and a gold in a magician table. I use that. This allows you to see the nodes, but it's kind of, you have to hold it to be able to see things. You don't actually wear it despite it being a monocle. You just hold the thing. So it is a little bit awkward to have to hold the thing to see the node and then switch to this moving wand and then move it a little bit and switch to the other thing to see it. So you can upgrade to the Tier 2 moving wand, and that thing is, of course, much more expensive. 2 magical ingots, 2 glass alloys, which we went over a minute ago, and a diamond. So you're going to need a diamond to make this. I think it's well worth it because you'll be able to see the thing. So here's what it looks like. And to find these things in the world, they generally spawn in particular places. And these structures right here tend to pop up. Sometimes they have chests, sometimes they don't. The chests are just general dungeon loot. But you can hear it, and you might be able to hear it in the background. Kind of a lightning sound. That's the sound of the node. And of course we can't see it right now, but if we equip the wand, look at that, there's some kind of glowy thing in there. And the way you manipulate these things is you hold right click to bring it towards you. And see, it came out and we got a name up top, and then you can do shift right click and push it away from you. And this seems to be behaving pretty good. When I did this on a server, on a multiplayer server, this sucker was really hard to move. I think it's something to do with the communication between the client and the server, but it would rubber band. So you'd pull it a little bit and it would zip back to where it was, pull it a little bit, zip back to where it was. It was infuriating to try to move these things. What I ended up having to do is you just stand inside the node and just push it a tiny bit, move it a little bit, push it a bit, move it a little bit, push it a bit, move it a bit. And I had to drag it all the way back to where I had built my battery. So it's very time consuming, especially because this thing is so hard to build in the first place, and then it's hard to move the nodes, and it's awful. But once you get it in place, it's a cool system, I'll admit. So this is the node. We can drag it over to the other battery. I think I got time. Let's build another one here. I've set up an area where we can build a battery just to show you the process of how exactly this thing is built instead of already having a pre-built one for you. Okay, I've got all the components I need, and let's try and throw this thing together. So first we got to lay down the frame. You can see this magic plating is actually pretty cool because it sort of builds a texture as you place it down. And I went into creative mode too, so I can fly around and make this a little bit easier on myself. Alright, there's the frame, and now we can place anything in any of these faces that we want. And as I did over here, you can see that you can put some of these things in the frame, like you can put the controller down here instead of a frame piece. I know you can do that for the controller, the acceptor, and the ejector. I don't know about the other pieces, but I mean, you really don't need to. I mean, you got plenty of room. You've got, what, 5, 6 faces here that you can fill with components, so there's really no need to put it in the frame unless you really want to. But anyways, so we need the controller, and then let's put the acceptor over here, and then the ejectors on that side, and then let's just fill the bottom with holding blocks so we get a whole bunch of storage. And then the rest of this you can do this magic fortified glass if you like. You can use more magic platings too if you don't want to have glass. It's fine, it still works, I think. Yeah, to be honest, I haven't actually tried that, but I'm pretty sure it still works. Alright, and we get all the sides blocked in except for the back. And so now we need to move this node into the battery. So you can stand in it and then just hold right click and see it comes towards you. That's a little too far. I think just the center bit, you can see it. Well, I guess it doesn't highlight the block, that's just the ones behind it. But I think just the center point needs to be inside the battery. It doesn't matter if like the rays come out the sides. Okay, now it's blocking the back. There. Now we should have a working battery. Let's take a look. Yeah, see now the controller, it shows 960,000 because we did what, 9 holding blocks. That's 900,000 plus the 60 that you start with. So great. So let's actually try to do something with it. So I have a generator over here. Next video I'm going to go over some more generators. This is a natural furnace. It's something I'll be talking about later. You can see it's got 10,000 MRU stored in it right now. And what we need to do is take a bound gem and link it to the furnace, and then go into the acceptor, and you stick the bound gem in there. See, now it says it's working, and I already drained all 10,000 MRU from this thing. Then we go to the controller, and there you go. So we're building up some storage. We're 12,000 and rising as this thing works and generates its power. So the other thing with this moving wand is you can see the connections. So you see there's a line going from the generator to the acceptor. So it tells you the generator is feeding the battery. And then if I set up another device and linked it to the ejector, why don't we do that? So I'll get a bound gem and a magician table. So I take a fresh bound gem and I link it to the ejector side. And then let's put down a magician table. See, it's got no MRU in it right now. If we put a bound gem in the bound gem slot, perfect, it's working. We get it full of magic. And with the moving wand, again, you can see it coming out of the battery into the device. So there you go. Now we have a working battery. Power generator feeds the battery. Battery feeds all your devices. I believe there's a 16 block radius for all of these things. So your generator needs to be within 16 blocks of the acceptor, and your devices need to be within 16 blocks of the ejector. And I suppose that would be another reason to make your battery really huge. So, you can have multiple ejectors every 16 blocks to power your whole base. Alright, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.